Do you want to learn how to mask your identity to browse inappropriate websites and stream media while at the office?
Well, we can't help you with that. But among the many IT problems we solve, Barracuda's web security solutions keep online activity clean and ensure internet bandwidth performance. Reclaim your network, like 150,000 other businesses already have. To learn more about preventing web-based threats, visit barracuda.com/web.
National League Central rivals go head-to-head this weekend when the Pirates face the Cubs at Wrigley.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
The pregame at 3 Eastern, first pitch at 4. Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app.
Coming up on the Best of the Paul Finebaum Show podcast, Tennessee quarterback Josh Dobbs stops by. Mizzou defensive end Shane Ray and projected first-round pick tells us his inspirational story. Plus your phone calls. It's the Best of the Finebaum Show podcast, and it starts right now.
This is the Best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
One reason there are so many believers in the Tennessee program is our next guest. He is Josh Dobbs, who emerged last year as the quarterback of this program, and so much is anticipated. Josh, thank you. I know there's a game tomorrow. We really appreciate your time this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
I was hearing from someone in Knoxville today in relation to the orange and white game that you're a famous quarterback. Don't misunderstand me, but maybe a little more famous quarterback from Tennessee past, maybe on the sidelines, named Peyton Manning. What do you know about that?
Yes, he will be in attendance, so it'll be great to have him back. I know we've seen him in the summer, but Peyton loves coming back to campus, so definitely looking forward to spending some time with him, hopefully tomorrow, and getting to see him on the sideline.
I went through the football facility a couple of months ago, and we were up there for the Missouri game, and that Peyton Manning room is pretty cool. You envision maybe a Joshua Dobbs room in the future?
That would be awesome, but you know, Peyton Manning, obviously that room's very cool. He's done a lot for the university. He really established his legacy here, and he's done a lot. He continues to grow his legacy in the league. So we're all aspiring to have careers like him. I know we definitely look up to him, and he definitely has done a lot for us.
Josh, I realize he's not around that much, but when he is and you have an opportunity, or maybe even tomorrow during a lull in the action, what type of information, advice would you or have you gone to him with?
Anything on and off the field stuff. Obviously, Peyton Manning is a great quarterback, but he's also a great leader. So just getting into his brain, learning how he attacks the game from the mental side of things. We know how he attacks the film room, how he attacks practices, and how he attacks games, and just getting into his mental attack of the football game, and then from there learning different physical drills he does as a quarterback through his footwork drills, his progression drills, his arm drills. So just picking his brain and getting as much knowledge as I can out of him from the leadership side of things to the physical side of things of the quarterback position.
Josh, not that anyone wants to turn the clock back. Most Tennessee fans want to look forward. But a year ago, your name was not being mentioned very often. We all know what happened with other quarterbacks at Tennessee with injuries and other situations that came up. And suddenly you emerged in the middle of the season. Go back to a year ago, and what were you thinking about the prospects of playing? And I'm still curious how you didn't emerge sooner.
A year ago, obviously, we just had finished spring, and I had a very good spring outing, and the team did as well. So we're going into fall camp, and obviously the coaches approached me about redshirting, and so during that time period, my goal was to take as many mental reps as I could as possible to prepare as if I was the starter, because just back to my freshman year, I was thrown into action as well. So my goal was that if that same situation came around, which it ended up happening, if that came around, I was going to be ready to make an impact for the team and lead the team. And thankfully, I was able to do that. So it just goes back to you know, my coach Jake, always would push me to continue to get as many mental reps as I could and continue to prepare as if I was the starter, from film to how I attack practice to how I attack the games. And that really helped me once I got my chance to play.
Mike DeBoard, obviously, in now as the offensive coordinator. Talk a little bit about how things have been different with him and what you expect.
They've been awesome. From the day he's gotten here, me and Coach DeBoard really hit it off. We've really picked up our tempo, picked up and installed various things in the offense for us. So Coach DeBoer has definitely brought a new dynamic to our offense, and obviously knowing his history and his stops before here and his history with Coach Jones and the coaching staff, he knows a lot about football. And he's very knowledgeable of the game, and you can definitely see that once we sit down and talk football. So it's been great to have him, and our relationship continues to grow.
I know how you feel about Butch Jones. It seems like everyone in Knoxville feels the same way. But talk a little bit about what he has meant, and why do you think he's been so inspirational, not only to you and your teammates, but to the entire Big Orange Nation?
Coach Jones is a coach who understands what Tennessee and what Tennessee brings to the table. He understands the history, the tradition, and what it means to be a Tennessee Volunteer, and he makes sure us as players understand that as well. The players, we gravitate to him so much because he's such a player's coach. He's a coach that has an open door policy to his office. He's always around. We're always able to go in and meet with him with any problems we have. And he's a coach who knows every player by name and builds a relationship with his players. So that really helps us want to play for a coach like that and be motivated to play for a coach and give our all once we get on the field. And then obviously he does a great job of getting our fans involved. We have great fans, passionate fans about volunteer football, and he does a great job of incorporating them. I mean, we'll see that tomorrow at the spring game with the fan turnout. But Coach Jones, he's just an all-around great coach, and he definitely shows that.
Josh, you're there. I've only been through there, but it seems like every day where we live here on this program, Tennessee fans are fired up. Everyone seems to think this is a turnaround situation. Old-timers like to pump the brakes, but this is your moment. What would you say to those who say, not so fast? We've seen this movie before with Tennessee football.
I would say green light go. We're ready and we're here. I know we've had a great spring. We've definitely picked up from where we left off in the fall, and with the Tax Slayer Bowl game, we didn't take any steps back, but took tremendous steps forward. The younger players are becoming older players, more experienced players, and taking on definitely leadership roles in the program. So I definitely believe that we will be a very good team this year, and definitely a team to compete and to. You're going to have to prepare for us every week because we're going to be ready to go.
Josh, when you're an analyst, you look at the quarterback situation. You also look at schedules. As a player, clearly you know the opponents on the Tennessee schedule. But do you pay much attention to that, or you just try to keep within your own lane?
Obviously, you want to know your opponent. You want to know your opponent in and out when you prepare for them each and every week, and that's what we do. But we also have to play our own game, and we have to also just execute the offense, execute the game plan each and every week. I mean, we showed last year when we came out and we executed our game plan. We put up points. We had big plays and put up big yardage games, and so we show we're definitely an explosive team when we execute and we play with confidence and continue to execute well.
There's one game on that schedule. I mean, obviously the Oklahoma game starts it off, but there's the second home game. But Florida has been Tennessee's bugaboo for almost 10 years now. Not to look too deep or too far ahead, but what does that game mean to you?
I mean, obviously Florida's definitely a big rivalry game for all Tennessee Volunteers. So, but when that week comes, we'll cross that bridge. Right now, we're finishing up spring strong, and then from there, moving on to prepare for our opening game of Bowling Green, and then we'll move forward from there week by week.
I give up, Joshua. You're way too smart for me. I try to get you going in the middle of the season, and you mentioned the next game, which is tomorrow, and then Bowling Green. It's pretty amazing. The leadership qualities that you have displayed, just in terms of your own ability and trying to keep things in check. When you hear people like me and others give you all this praise, how do you filter it and how do you deal with it?
My goal is to take it one day at a time. I know that as a team we can accomplish great things. We haven't done it yet, but we will. And so I know to do that we have to take it one day at a time. We can't look back and dwell on the past and past success. We have to continue to move forward and continue to work hard, which we've done, but we have to continue to do that. We have to have a productive summer to help us leading into fall camp and into the season. So we just want to take it one day at a time, one practice at a time, one workout at a time. If we maximize all we can, each individual practice, workout, and game, we'll definitely be successful. But we just have to trust in the process and work now to reap the benefits later.
Well, it has certainly been fun and enjoyable for me, and hopefully the many people listening and watching to hear you. Best wishes tomorrow. That is the next game. I've learned my lesson on this interview. And then on to Bowling Green. Thank you so much, Joshua.
Thank you, and go Vols.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Some news since we last visited with you, the story that won't seem to go away. When Hugh Freeze joined us yesterday, the surprise phone call, he put the kibosh on these satellite camps, but it just doesn't seem like Jim Harbaugh really cares what Hugh Freeze or Nick Saban or anyone else has to say. Have you seen what Jim Harbaugh sent out today? He has sent out an open invitation to all coaches. Come on up. Where college coaches are restricted from working a camp outside of a 50-mile radius of their campus, this is Harbaugh. We cordially invite your head coach to be our keynote speaker. That went out a little while ago. Has anyone accepted? Wouldn't that be funny if Nick Saban said, I'm in. I know, I've been to Michigan before. I used to live in East Lansing, so I would be more than happy to come to the University of Michigan. You imagine if Saban showed up? I don't think that's what Jim Harbaugh has or had in mind. That's the big story. We'll talk more about it as we move throughout the program. There have been some other comments about scheduling as well, and Todd Graham is out in Arizona at Arizona State. A 9-game conference schedule. Are you listening, SEC? He said everybody should play 9 conference games. Remember, David Shaw did this last year. Why 9 games instead of 8? Because you play one more conference game that your fans want to see instead of scheduling a team that no one wants to see because you're scheduling wins. And don't want to be out of the 14 playoff. We need to consider what the fans want. Fans don't want to see your schedule 4 easy wins, then 2 conference wins to get into a bowl game. That's un-American. Todd, you had me until the end. You had me into the un-American part of it. Remember when Jay Jacobs said if Auburn wasn't invited to the national championship game after they beat Alabama at the end of the 13 season, that it would be un-American? I really agree with most of what Graham had to say. I don't know what you folks think, but I don't understand, and I've had it explained to me from the top on down to the bottom, why the SEC can't figure out a way to go to 9 conference games, why we have to suffer through some of the unwatchable games that will litter your SEC schedule. But the only thing I will say that everyone's not playing for cupcakes. Alabama's starting off with Wisconsin. Auburn's playing Louisville. There's a game on that schedule. I think who's playing Arizona? Somebody's playing Arizona State. Is that A&M? So, I mean, there's some Florida State. Come on, Todd. I mean, we're not talking about playing junior colleges here. I mean, there are a couple of schools that we've looked at all the schedules that are incredibly embarrassing, and you know who you are. But there are plenty of schools at the top of this league, like South Carolina playing Clemson, that are not embarrassing, that are major opponents, Tennessee, Oklahoma. So, I mean, I agree with the basic premise that 4 non-conference cupcakes are a joke, 3 are a joke. When the SEC will consider the 9-game playoff, the 9-game schedule, I don't know, but to me it makes a lot of sense. Let's grab some phone calls here, 855-242-7285. Let's let's check in with Lauren in Nashville. Lauren, thank you for the phone call. Good afternoon.
Hi, Paul. Good afternoon.
Hey there.
I'm sitting at my desk in Nashville, like I said, and I have this coworker, Alex. Now, we both went to school in the last 4 or 5 years, so we've had, and he went to Tennessee, so we've had some good and bad in the last 5 years. But why I'm calling is because he says that Tennessee and Alabama are a bigger rivalry than Auburn and Alabama. And I would like an educated opinion on this matter.
Well, I'll be happy to give you one. I think I'm qualified. I think over the course of history, Alabama has always been Tennessee's big rival. Tennessee has been Alabama's big rival. In fact, I heard Kenny Chesney on Mike and Mike this morning. He's a Tennessee fan from Knoxville. Say that that's always the game that he looked forward to the most. That is no longer the case. As someone who has lived in Alabama for many, many years and who grew up in Tennessee, who went to the University of Tennessee, that game has taken a back seat, at least from an Alabama standpoint. Alabama's biggest rival is Auburn, and frankly, after that, I think I could give you a couple of other games that are more important on the Alabama schedule every year than Tennessee, like LSU. Other games come and go, but Auburn and LSU, I think, are the two most important games traditionally now on Alabama's schedule. And on Tennessee's schedule, I think Florida has been the number one game in the last 20 years, ever since the SEC went to conference, divisional conference play. And I think after that, Georgia would be pretty close to being next.
All right. Thank you very much. That was very helpful.
Well, I'm glad to help out. Thank you. Appreciate the call. Let's continue with more calls. And Ryan is up next in Tuscumbia, Alabama, not too far from Tennessee. How are you, Ryan?
I'm good. How are you, Paul?
Great. Thank you very much.
I just saw the article.
Yeah, apparently we lost you. I don't know what happened there. Let's see if we can punch that button again. And you there? That's Lance. Lance.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, Lance. Good afternoon.
Missed you yesterday. Sorry about the call. But check this out, man. Jim Harbaugh did the same thing when he came in, when he was at Stanford, man. He always wanted to take, he was running his mouth to Pete Carroll. You remember? He's like, every time he comes into college, he wants to try to take out the big dog. I mean, he ain't never won nothing, I don't think. I mean, winning in Pac-12 ain't a big deal to me, but it might be to you, bro. But
that's not bad.
But tell me about Jeremy Johnson, play for Auburn. I'm just not sold on him. I can hear all this optimism about him. I mean, he's going to prove it on the field, man. He played the first half against Arkansas. It was 21-21. I mean, did Arkansas start the season 0-8 or something like that? Or, 0-6 in SEC, maybe it was.
I think you're right about that.
I just don't see how he's going to improve. I mean, Jeff Driscoll never improved going up against a Will Muschamp defense in all season. You know what I mean? I just think it's like to be done on the field. I think Auburn's getting too much out. But I would like to get a little optimism for Florida if I could, Paul, from you, because I think Will Greer's a real deal, man. You live in North Carolina. You ever heard of Will Greer, Paul?
I've heard of him, yeah.
If you ever get a chance, check him out, man. He's got national records, state records. He's a bad man. But we talked about McElwain before, the job he's done with quarterbacks. I mean, I don't think Greg McElroy is that talented. I think he's elite above the shoulders. But, McElwain gets the best out of quarterbacks, man. And I think that's been our biggest problem since Tebow left. We ain't had a leader on offense to carry the load, man. And I think Will Greer's going to bring that. I think he's going to start. And in 4 years with Jim McElwain, that's at least 2 SEC championships. So I'm thinking, Paul. But how come you ain't sold on McElwain building up to get his offense, man? You keep acting like we're going to struggle. I thought you were sold on McElwain.
Well, I like McElwain a lot. I just don't think that program is ready to make the steps that you think, Lance. But we'll find out. I mean, listen, you ran your mouth all year about Duke and turned out to be right. Maybe you'll turn out to be right about that. Certainly, there's also some basketball news today, and we alluded to this the other day, but Malik Newman, the five-star guard from Mississippi, has chosen Mississippi State over a number of schools, including Kentucky. It's arguably the most important recruit in the history of Mississippi State basketball, and certainly a great start for Ben Howland. Let's check in with Joseph next in Tuscaloosa.
Hey, Paul, what's up, partner? How you feeling, man?
Hey there, buddy.
Hey, man, look here. They talking about Tennessee, Alabama, Rob. I just begged the game this with the Rocky swap because the whole thing about it, I got a bunch of tweets from Tennessee fans this morning. Now talking about Brooks, who the coach is, Grace Jones, Indiana Jones, Butch Jones, my fault. Now, the way I see it, Vanderbilt's been getting a lot more attention out there in Tennessee than the Vols. Now, they have dirty Tennessee Volunteers for a good reason. They have a tendency to lose, and they get their butts when they play Alabama. Lately, that's how it's been. Now, how are you going to sit here and tell me that, the Bear, Bryant, idolize Neil and Jones? I think not, because the way I see it like this, with Tennessee, they have the slightest complacency. Phil Fulmer was one of them, and complacency will cost you every time. Don't never come tell me that Tennessee is a better school than Alabama. Y'all got the greatest fan base. Take that somewhere else. The only thing y'all good at is playing them damn Elvis Presley songs I don't need to buy no Elvis Presley album.
Yeah, Elvis Presley's from Memphis. Knoxville's in East Tennessee. Get your geography right. Jonathan is up next. Good afternoon, Jonathan.
Hey, afternoon, Paul. I appreciate you taking the call.
Thank you.
The whole idea between Bama and Tennessee and Auburn, Alabama, it's really, I feel like it's probably more generational. My grandfather is a diehard Alabama fan. We're Auburn fans, and he told me one time, he said, we don't care nothing about that other school down there in Alabama. He said, there's only one school from Alabama, and that's the University of Alabama.
Well, Jonathan, let me interrupt. I mean, that's absurd. Come on, let's try to keep this real here. I mean, a bunch of Alabama and Auburn fans screaming over. I mean, the fact that your granddad, said in the 50s that Alabama didn't care about Auburn. Well, I'll tell you what, Nick Saban cares about Auburn. He cared about them a whole lot 2 years ago when he was knocking on the door of a national championship, and Auburn returned a field goal, 109 yards, and destroyed what may be the last shot at a historical feat like 3 consecutive national championships. Well, maybe Saban will win another one, maybe he won't, but I guarantee you Nick Saban will not forget that moment, and that moment occurred at Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn, Alabama.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
David Basil joins us. In the 80s, he was a captain of the Arkansas Razorbacks. Since then, a well-known sports talk show host and television personality, and more important than any of that, one of the great hosts in SEC history. When we were in Fayetteville, no one showed us a better time and gave us more swag than our next guest. David, how are you?
Paul, I'm doing great. It was great to see you then, and that's the way we do it here in Arkansas. When you guys roll into our state, we're going to take good care of all of you guys, you and John, and it was a good time seeing you. And listen, I'm proud of the fact you still occasionally put on the hog hat. Very nice.
Well, I do. I have an Arkansas sweatshirt. I've been known to, now that it's warmed up, but I've been roaming around my neighborhood, and I had a guy that came up to me not long ago and said, "Are you an Arkansas graduate?" I said, "I only wish." But I just couldn't get into school. David, let's talk about the Hogs, and we all know about the buzz, but what's the likelihood of that buzz turning into a big-time season for Coach Bielema?
Well, it's funny, John referenced that week you guys were in Fayetteville for the Bama game, and the buzz surrounding a team that was in the midst of a double-digit SEC losing streak, 17 total. And even more so, you look at the numbers now, the Hogs coming off a 7-6 season, 2-6 in conference, but it's amazing how optimistic and the high expectations this fan base has. And so, and it's predicated by their head coach. One thing about Brett Bielema, whether you like him or not, he's a confident coach. He's got swagger. He's always positive. I played for a couple coaches at Arkansas. One was Lou Holtz, and Lou Holtz was just the opposite. He would talk us down. We're the worst team ever. We're going to be lucky to stay on the field. That's not the way Brett Bielema does it. And so this fan base, especially with the way the season ended last year and with so many returning starters, I think they're very, very optimistic.
Well, everyone knows what Arkansas is good at. Let's start with the quarterback and work our way down, because there's a lot of talent in that backfield.
Yeah, Paul, it's funny. It's honestly, the running game is something that the Hogs feel very comfortable about. It's based on the play up front with the offensive line, which is big and strong, and that's the way Brett Bielema likes it. But it's nice to see Brandon Allen, a much maligned quarterback here in the last couple of years at Arkansas. Finally, I think everybody looks around the league and said, man, I'm glad we have Brandon Allen. He's not going to win the Heisman, but he's the kind of kid that you want as the face of your program. He's been through the wars. You know how it is, the value of having a quarterback that started every game for 2 years in this league. There's something to be said for that. And so, you got enough returning starters, and I think, again, 9 returning starters on offense. If they can find a couple receivers, Paul, that can threaten some downfield passing, I think it will loosen up the defense even more and help the Hogs.
Certainly, expectations are high. They always are. Arkansas fans are realistic. But in terms of this being the third year, last year it seems like it ended well. When you beat Texas, it doesn't really matter what the record is. That's considered a good year. But what is the expectation here, and what are the projections? And then we'll look at the schedule after this.
Well, if you look at Brett Bielema's first year, he goes 3-9, 0-8 in the conference. Last year, 7-6, 2-6 in the conference. I think most Razorback fans see this as a season where we should go win no fewer than 8 games. And maybe win 9 or 10. I mean, of course, in this league, it's easy. It's not easy to do that. It's much easier to say it. But I definitely think the magic number for this fan base is a 9 or 10 win season. And you know what? I think Brett Bielema feels comfortable in the fans having that kind of expectation.
The schedule is interesting as always. Everyone has their own wars, but I'm gonna go through some of these games with you, David. You're the expert. UTEP, Toledo. I don't think we'll have anything too much to worry about there. Those are not the most impressive first 2 weeks. But Texas Tech last year was, I thought, a turning point for Arkansas, and I assume you believe not much will change this year when they show up in Arkansas.
I agree, Paul. I think there was a little bit of trepidation going to Lubbock last year, but the Hog game, I think it really showed the strength. That was the blueprint that Brett Bielema wants to have, and I think you're right. I think they get the win in Fayetteville against Texas Tech.
Last year, we know what happened. It was a heartbreaker in overtime against Texas A&M. Before I even get to this game, give us the backstory on playing this game in Arlington.
Well, yeah, obviously Jerry Jones is an Arkansas grad, and he knows the value of having exposure in the state of Texas for recruiting. To be honest with you, I always find it quite amazing that A&M is willing to give up a home field advantage to be able to go to Arlington, but I think they feel like, there's some advantages there as well. So Arkansas being an old member of the Southwest Conference, that's what I played in. We love the opportunity to get in the Dallas market and the Arlington market and get exposure. So that's the importance of that.
Okay, so if you had to make a call on that game right now, where would you go?
I think Hogs get that one. As you mentioned, they should have. That was just really a heartbreaker last year. They outplayed A&M, should have won it. I think they get it this year.
Here's where it becomes fascinating. At Tennessee, at Alabama, Auburn at home. To me, that October 3rd game at Tennessee is going to really define a lot, particularly for Tennessee, because it's a home game. Call that one right now, David.
Well, you're right. I mean, Arkansas and Tennessee are sort of the faves to pick as the breakout teams next year. And to see this matchup so early in the season, you're right. A team could take a certain direction after a win or loss here. I think one of the advantages for Arkansas is that, again, you do have a 3-year starter at quarterback. You have 9 starters on offense. And the type of offense that Arkansas runs is a ball control offense. I think that means the game will be close. And I think with the resurgence of Arkansas's defense last year, the Razorbacks win a close one there at Knoxville.
Okay, well, you've made it easy for us. We don't have to agonize. At Alabama on October 10th, I'll save you the trouble. I'm going to go ahead and chalk that one Alabama, if you don't mind.
Well, remember, 1 point loss last year. That was the first time, Paul, I'd seen Arkansas handle the Alabama offensive line, although they were beat up last year. But, yeah, very tough to go into Tuscaloosa to win, sure.
And I think this I've already hyped the October 3rd game, but I think this is another one that if Arkansas is going to have a big year, you've got a great opportunity against Auburn. That maybe really wasn't fair last year. We didn't know we didn't realize Arkansas was better than they were, because I remember being down in Auburn that day, and it had no feel, no buzz. It was just like, I can't believe this game has to be played, because there was so little respect for Arkansas. That will not be the feeling on October 24th.
That's right, Paul. One thing I'll give Gus Malzahn credit. He said it before this game. He said, you guys better watch out. Arkansas is going to be a good football team, and it's 21-21. The defense got lit up by Johnson in the passing game that first half, and then just fell apart there at the end. I do think this could be a turning point between, winning 8, 9, or 10 games. And I actually think having this game in Fayetteville is going to be the difference. And I think the Arkansas defense is much better than it was the first game last year.
Yeah, I would agree. That is a really interesting game. We finished the season at Ole Miss, at LSU. Do you think that's a situation where you need to break even there?
Yeah, it would be nice to split that one. And, again, you think about that LSU game 2 years ago, Paul. Arkansas goes to Baton Rouge. The Battle of the Boots is always a great a trophy game. And so there's still questions at quarterback for LSU. There's going to be a question at quarterback for Ole Miss. So I would take a split there.
State and Missouri. As I look at that schedule, David, there's just no. I realize we're passing up on Tennessee Martin, but that really looks brutal. Missouri. You can't do anything about it. That's your opponent, but that is a very difficult stretch, and Arkansas fans just have to turn games. The Arkansas team has to turn games. There's no other way around it.
this is why you love to play in this league. This is why kids come to this conference, is because you basically play 8 weeks of bowl games throughout the season. And I like the fact that we have Mississippi State at home. Remember last year Arkansas had a chance in the last play of the game to beat Mississippi State. They didn't get it done. And Missouri, same way. They had a chance to close at Missouri. They didn't get it done. Having them at home, I think, gives them the advantage for those 2 games.
Well, it's realistic or optimistic, perhaps, to say 9 wins. I'm not sure I see 9 on there, but I may see 8. So would 8 be considered a pretty good year?
Well, it's an improvement. Obviously, you went 3, 7, and 8. There are going to be high expectations. Again, I like what Brett Phillips is doing. I think the players love this guy, Paul. They love his assistants, and I like the vibe that's going on, and I think the Razorback fans do too, and they love the way the season ended, especially beating Texas, and I think that will continue this year.
Okay, I'll go 8.5 just because you're so nice.
Thanks, Paul. Sounds
David
good to
Daza.
me, buddy.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Jesse is up next. Jesse, thank you.
Hi, Paul. I'd like to comment on the Malik Newman commitment to Mississippi State.
Right.
I believe that the Ben Howland hire by Mississippi State was a big factor in that commitment, but I would believe an even bigger factor is desire for playing time. The main rival we had was Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
The elite guys who sign with Kentucky have to share playing time, and that hurts their draft status.
Yeah, let's not forget too, Jesse. There is his father played at Mississippi State, so I mean there are some ties there, and these things could always change. You never know, but I do think, regardless of what happens from this moment on, it was a big shot in the arm for Ben Howland.
But I think it's a kick in the rear to the one and done.
I mean, listen, this does not look like a similar class for Cal than it has in the past. I'm not writing Cal off. He's one of the premier coaches in the country, but you do have to wonder if there is a little bit of fatigue on that issue that you're talking about.
Some of those guys, it hurts their draft status when they can't even start for their college team.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that when you look at where some of these projections are, but we'll see what happens. Hey, thank you very much for the call. I do appreciate it very much. Lindy is up next in Mississippi. How are you, Lindy?
I'm doing fine. Paul, what about you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Good deal. I just wanted to talk a little bit. I've been an Ole Miss fan since birth, just about it. I grew up in the 50s when Ole Miss was always near the top of the charts. And remember, the 59 team was national champions. They had one loss, and that was against LSU in the famous Halloween run. And then Ole Miss come back and beat them 21-0 in the Sugar Bowl. And had some hit and misses. They was pretty good through the 60s and early 70s, and then a lot of years it was pretty lean there. And but now it looks like that Mr. Freeze has got things turned around, him and his coaching staff, and looks like there might really be some hope there for Ole Miss people. And just wonder what your thoughts were on it.
Well, I think there's more than hope. I think Hugh Freeze has put the nucleus together of an extremely good program, and you have to do it like he's done it with that banner recruiting class from 2 years ago and build off of that. There's still some question marks, but show me an SEC school that there aren't question marks this year.
Okay, Paul. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to hear from you. And Mike is next up in Arkansas. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Paul. How are you doing today?
Okay, thank you.
I want to talk about I'm sure you heard about the Hogs Bielema moving around from one moving around some of his defensive and offensive linemen, and also putting weight on them and taking weight off of some of them. And I think it's going to be much better, a speedier, a stronger, stronger offense and defensive line. And I think that they're going to do a lot better in the SEC West than what most people are giving them credit for.
Well, I don't know if anyone's discounting them. Last year, Mike, it was impossible to buy in because Arkansas still hadn't won a game. This year, I think the temptation is how far do you go in the opposite direction? And I think they're I mean, let's not sound like a broken record here, but Arkansas, LSU, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State, I think, are in A&M. I'll throw 5 schools in there. I mean, I think it's virtually impossible to try to decipher which one of those 5 will come out because I think they all have interesting and differing challenges. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Alabama and Auburn are ahead, and I think you'll see that reflected in the national polls and the SEC projections. But if someone can tell me of those 5 and make a clear case why one is definitely better than the other, then we're here every day. I'm anxious and looking forward to hearing from you. LB is next.
Hey, Paul. How you doing?
Okay, buddy.
Hey, this is LB calling from Hoover.
Mm-hmm.
Got an anniversary coming up. What can you do for me?
Wish you well. I'm one and LB. I'm one and done on anniversaries with you. I promise you.
Yeah, one and done. No, there was 2.
Well,
there was 2 now.
Okay,
the second one was the one that did me in.
Yeah, well, that was the one that did me in too. So I'll say this: it will cost me nothing, unlike the last one. Happy anniversary. Anthony is up next in Florida. How are you, Anthony?
I'm good, Paul. How are you doing?
Okay, thank you very much.
I do not think that Mississippi State is going to go 6-6.
Okay.
I'm thinking like 10-2. They're going to lose against Alabama and Ole Miss because I'm a rebel. My wife is a diehard Mississippi State fan, and that's the 2 games that I think State they will lose. Arkansas will not beat Alabama, Auburn, Ole Miss, or Mississippi State. I don't know who the guy you had on earlier. They're not going to win the game.
You seem pretty confident of that, Anthony.
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay.
And my birdhouse, it says Ole Miss, and it's facing toward the back porch of my house right now because. Do what?
I'm glad to hear from you. Thank you. Charlie is up next in St. Louis. Charlie, thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you for having me on, Paul. I just wanted to comment on the idea of Arkansas going 9-3. I mean, I understand that you think that they might win 8 games. I think that will be tough. I mean, with games at LSU, Bama, and Ole Miss, that's not even counting Tennessee probably being a surging team this year, and they have to keep up with A&M in points. I'm just curious where you think they're going to be able to pull off these 8 wins.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit lower than where David was there. To me, I'm guessing in April. I don't think they can beat Tennessee on the road, and nor do I think they can beat Alabama on the road. I think he's right. They have to split those LSU and Ole Miss games, or maybe carry both of them. And I think Auburn, if Auburn is as good as advertised, then I would probably give Auburn a lean there as well.
Definitely. I mean, I'm just curious to see how Arkansas does this year, but I mean, it just looks tough. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Well, I mean, listen, every year, thanks for the call. I mean, someone breaks through, but even, go back to last year. If you're one of these who wants to look at these schedules and manufacture won-loss records, but in November, you had, 3 of the top 4 in the country, or end of October, you had 3 of the top 4 in the country from the SEC West. How did it end up? Attrition finally caught up. Mississippi State was way late at the end in terms of the Ole Miss game late and the Alabama game. Ole Miss, it caught up to them. I mean, you cannot predict injuries, and that hurt Ole Miss a great deal. That Auburn finally became exhausted with the nation's toughest schedule. It caught Alabama early against Ole Miss. So that's what the SEC is about. I try not to use too many cliches in late April, but you can't avoid them when trying to figure this stuff out.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
We just got through watching the Draft Academy profile of Shane Ray, the All-American defensive end and projected very high pick in next week's NFL draft. Shane joins us now. And Shane, thank you very much. I know it's been a busy day. We were watching what I'm sure you've seen a number of times, a story about your past and coming from KC. Talk a little bit about that, because that's a side of you that Missouri fans may know, but until recently I'm not sure the nation has been able to see it. And talk a little bit about overcoming where you've come from.
Well, growing up in Kansas City where I grew up, it was just a lot of crime going on at the time, especially when Kansas City was like #1 for the murder rate in the nation. And, you know, I grew up in that period, and I've even lost, you know, family members. And, you know, I've seen a lot of stuff that happened in the city during that time period. And that's when I grew up. And, you know, of course, it was a little adverse, but I was able to get through it. And, you know, with the support system of my mom and other people. But the biggest thing is, you know, not everybody has that. And, you know, it's unfortunate because I look at the position I'm in now and think about all the friends that I know, or, you know, the people that I grew up with that just kind of went the other way. You know, it's just kind of the nature of growing up in that part of the city.
Shane, it's easy for someone like me to say, yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I don't. I mean, I didn't grow up like that. So I'm curious, was there a particular thing, and you mentioned your mom, or beyond that, something that motivated you to get through it? Because I'm sure it wasn't easy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my mom, she put me back into football, and that's what I really feel like just attributed to, you know, of course, me being where I'm at today. But once I got the opportunity and things started happening, you know, me and my mom used to just talk about free college. We weren't even talking about Division I or anything like that. You know, our goal was just some sort of free college so I could get out the city. And, you know, I was blessed, you know, to have a really good junior season in high school, to get full ride scholarships. And, you know, it was really just mind-blowing just that, you know, being the first person in my family to have a full ride scholarship and be able to go to a university. And, you know, it was such a big deal. And I just really just took advantage of my opportunities.
You're on the cusp of something really great, but do you ever think late at night or maybe early in the morning how close it came, or you came, to perhaps going down the wrong street and ending up in the wrong place?
Definitely. I mean, like I said, I know so many people that, you know, I was with every day, you know, growing up with maybe just a street over with or on the same street that, you know, just didn't have the same outlet that I had. And, you know, I think about it every day. You know, that could have easily been me. That could have been me on the news. You know, people aren't too very far removed from it, and people don't understand that the things that you hear about, those things do happen. And, you know, it takes a lot of people. It doesn't just take one person. It takes a lot of people to help individuals get through that. And, you know, I was just really, really blessed to have that and be able to make it out.
When you went to Missouri, certainly you had a lot of people there that were tough. I mean, Gary Pinkel and certainly your defensive coaches are considered some of the best in the country. What was that experience like? How did they help you matriculate to where you are right now?
Well, I can say definitely from my coaches, they understood that, you know, at the time I needed kind of a different sort of attention. You know, I was a knucklehead, I was a hothead, so, you know, they had a handful, you know, they had their hands full with me, you know, my first year or so. But, you know, they also let me know of just their expectations of me as a person and growing, and as a player and growing. And, you know, I made the decision to, you know, become better and just release all the negatives that I had coming into the program, and it just really worked out for me. And my coaches believed in me every step of the way and just continued to push me every day. You know, it didn't matter. Any of the situations, my coaches were on my case 24/7 about being better and being a better person, and, you know, eventually leading my team.
Shane, we had Michael Sam on yesterday, and he talked about you and how happy and proud he was for your success. What impact did Michael have on you, a little bit older and a little bit ahead of you in class?
Well, with the time that I came into Mizzou, you know, I was kind of the run of the litter. Me and Sheldon Richardson came in at the same time as he transferred from JUCO, and then you got Michael Sam, Coney Ely, Jacquez Smith, you know, all these, you know, really good defensive linemen. And, you know, I'm kind of thrown in there. So I had to compete every day. I had to learn, you know, bits and pieces from each one of them and just kind of build myself and, you know, create my own blueprint and eventually be able to, you know, lead the team and do what I was able to do this season in the SEC. And, I mean, it's crazy. People wonder about our defensive line room and how it happens. But, you know, when you put all those guys in that room and, you know, expect, you know, nothing less of just full effort and, you know, perfection from us pretty much with our coach, it just happens.
Another thing that happened was getting to Atlanta 2 consecutive years as the SEC East champ. To this moment, I still haven't found anyone who predicted that. I can tell you I didn't. How did you like to prove the critics wrong?
It's awesome because, you know, I feel like at Mizzou we're consistently, you know, the underdog, regardless on, you know, who we might get coming in or the team. I mean, we're always an underdog, and we as a team we love it because every week that means we get to go out and just, you know, rub it in your face even more when we get a win. And making it to the SEC championship 2 years in a row, trust me, as I'm sure you know, nobody expected that from us and nobody wanted us to be there. But we earned our right to be there, and we're earning our right to play football in the SEC.
Shane, your appearance last year in Atlanta was not without a little bit of controversy. You probably remember the hit on Blake Sims. There was a lot of hullabaloo after it. I remember afterwards you had some pretty strong comments, not to dig up old bones, but what were you thinking?
Well, you know, as I was coming through the line, you know, I beat the guard, and I just remember just running full speed at Blake. And, you know, he's setting up about to deliver that touchdown pass, and I just remember my coach saying, hey, you know, he's a shorter quarterback. You got to go lower on him when you hit him. And so I'm running full speed, and literally, like, you know, right when he releases it, you know, I hit him, and I kind of hit him a little bit higher than I expected to in his chest. And, of course, that's where the targeting penalty came through. But there was no ill will there. You know, I'm not a dirty player by any means. You know, I play with a lot of passion and, you know, just a lot of effort. And, you know, that's a play that it could have went either way, to where it could have been a really, really great hit, or, of course, the situation of it being, you know, me being ejected from the game. And, you know, it's something I accepted and moved past, but, you know, it happens.
And what will also happen is next week, and you've been at ESPN all day, so I'm sure you've seen the big board, and you're pretty high on that board. That must feel pretty good.
It does. You know, I put in so much hard work in my journey to get to this point, and you know, with it narrowing down, you can't help but think about it, especially when you try to live day to day. But I'm so appreciative and blessed to be where I'm at today. And, you know, I just really hope the right team chooses me and, you know, accepts me and, you know, brings me in and builds on me, and I'm ready to work.
Shane, you know the reality that you'll if you go where you're projected. I mean, there'll be a lot of money, there'll be bonuses. We always think about material things, but when you come from the background that you've come from and overcome some of the things, what will that mean to you to finally be comfortable and have money to get whatever you want?
Well, I think with that aspect, you know, it definitely takes off some stress of, you know, having money and, you know, to be able to live, you know, a different way. But for me, it's kind of never really been the money that's been my motivation. When I really dedicated myself to this sport, you know, I've always wanted to be the best, and I've always wanted to compete. And, you know, me going to the NFL, of course, it comes with, you know, the money and, you know, certain things. But for me, it goes back to grinding, wanting to be the best, wanting to be the most talked about guy, because that's just something that's inside of me. And I can't change it, but, you know, that's just kind of what it is.
I know your future is ahead of you, but considering your story, young people watching perhaps or listening who don't have it very well and have tough upbringings and tough family lives like you did, what would you tell them? How would you inspire them to overcome their own problems?
You know, I would just tell them to just not give up. You know, a lot of times I see people, you know, give up because of their environment, and, you know, just really stop pushing, man. Don't ever give up, you know, and make good decisions and keep the right people around you. You know the difference between the people, you know, trying to pull you down or doing other things other than, you know, what you're trying to do and be successful in your career. So I was, like I said, you know, I was so blessed to have the right people around me to push me in the right direction at every stage of my life. And, I know not everybody has that, but if you can find that, keep it. And just continue to be humble, continue to grind, regardless of, what people say you can or can't do, and you'll be fine.
Shane, best wishes. You've inspired a lot of people with the Draft Academy piece and obviously what you've said here today. We're pulling for you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
The new college football playoff.
College football playoff national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Your home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
The spring game in Knoxville, so much anticipation, and unfortunately more troubling headlines coming out of Knoxville this afternoon. The University of Tennessee's wide receiver, Von Pearson, has been identified as a suspect in an alleged rape that was reported about 6 a.m. this morning, according to Knoxville police. The incident took place right off of campus, and during the initial investigation, investigators took statements from the victim, several witnesses, and alerted the sexual assault center. Pearson is 23. He's from Virginia, and he joined the program in 2014 after 2 years at junior college. As we've learned in cases in Tennessee, and we saw how one turned out recently, completely opposite of how it was originally reported, but this is an alleged rape. It's being investigated, and of course no charges have been filed at this hour. Daryl is up next in Georgia. Hey, Daryl.
Well, yeah, you know what? What's going on, Mr. King?
Oh, well.
Mr. King of the South, right?
King of the South.
Tennessee gave us two kings, King of Rock and Roll, King of the South gave us two. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you will not get away. You will not get away with rape in the state of Tennessee. You might in the state of Florida, especially if you go to Florida State, but you ain't gonna get away with it. I mean, what part of no do guys not understand? I do not get at all. Hey, the guy you just had on, he said that Mizzou deserved to play for the SEC championship. I think it was more like was lucky to play for the SEC championship. I mean, I think the world knew who was the best team in the SEC East last year, and it surely was not Missouri. I mean, they got there, but they were not the best team. 34-0 in their own backyard, beat them down like we owned them, just like we owned them. You know what? All the hype, all the talk. Oh, first of all, let me say this about what that guy just talked about. You know what? I agree. I understand what he's saying, but here's the deal, okay? You always hear, well, you don't know. You don't understand where they come from. I mean, you didn't come from the hood. You don't understand. You know what? And then the hood gets all the blame. It ain't got nothing to do with the hood. There's kids come from the hood. It's all about the parents, Paul. All about what kind of how you raised, what kind of home you come from. It's all about the parents. Good kids come from the hood. Bad kids come from the hood. Good kids that come from the hood, I guarantee you they got role models of parents. No doubt about that. Now, I find it kind of humorous. I mean, we got the same talk this year we had last year. The two hype teams, Arkansas and Tennessee. I just think it's kind of funny because both of them went 7-6 last year. Both of them went combined. They went 5-11 in the SEC combined last year. I mean, it's time to put up or shut up. I'm ready for one of them to do something because every year they're hyped up. Let me ask you this: who would you pick? Give me your top three teams in the East and in the West right now. Who do you think they are?
Well, in the East, I would probably go Georgia, Tennessee, and Missouri. You like that?
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
In the West, I'm struggling in the West. I would go Alabama and Auburn are on the same line right now, and I might go Ole Miss next.
You got to love Calvert from where Starsfield. It might well be a mark. Well, that's got to leave a mark. You know what I'm saying? Oh, by the way, my birdhouse is on my back porch also, which I don't have a back porch. But, I mean, Paul, do you care about anybody's birdhouse?
No.
I mean, me neither. I mean, I don't know where that guy was coming from. As a matter of fact, I tell you what, I got two birds for him right here that he can put in his birdhouse. All right? See you, Paul.
Thank you very much. Good to hear from you. Let's check out now. Linda is in Alabama, and you are next up. What's up, Linda?
Hey, Paul. How are you today? You look very hawkish.
Thank you.
Do you remember the 4D words that I had for you? Or do I need to refresh your memory?
Shoot.
Okay. Dashing, debonair, distinguished, and delicious.
Mm.
And John is just straight up hot. Forgive me for saying that, John, but he's just hot. Any woman that wins his heart is going to be a very lucky woman. But I'm sure
Linda, hold on. What about Mark Kubiak?
Oh yeah. Oh, he's
yeah.
He's adorable.
Come on.
I'm sorry, Mark. Mark Kubiak.
Mark Kubiak.
You are adorable.
He's from Rochester, New York. Doesn't that do something for you?
Oh my gosh, yes. Because my mother's from Brooklyn.
Well, Brooklyn and Rochester are night and day.
By
the way, my mother is from Brooklyn too, so we have that much in common.
John's sitting there. Look at him. Look at John. Look at John. He's smiling. Smile, Mark. Anyway,
Mark, I hate to break it to you, but I think even this is a major diss on you.
This is a great way to start my weekend.
Yeah.
Thanks, Linda.
You're welcome, Mark. You're very welcome. But listen, we're fixing to come up against a break, and I will get to the real reason I called today. Well, for my men first, but anyway, I wanted to ask you, how many wins do you think Alabama's going to get this year? And you won't be able to pull up their schedule, will you?
I know the schedule pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can we go through it?
I think you start with Alabama. I think Wisconsin is a challenge, but I think the season will come down to 2 games in particular. And you know which ones they are? At Georgia and at Auburn.
And do you have any thoughts of do we have a chance? Again, that's my 2 teams too.
Those are the 2 toughest games, and then after that, you have at Mississippi State and at A&M. Those don't look that difficult on paper, but they are. And to me, it then depends on a couple of other things. But I see some really tough games on Alabama's schedule. I
do too, and I'm trying to be real. Of course, I want us to win all of them, but I'm being realistic. Is what I'm trying to do. But I wanted to. Do you want me to do my Roll Tide roll like I did the other day? Because you gave me a compliment on my lung capacity.
Yeah, I think I could probably live without that today, since the season's 5 months off.
Okay. But you have a great weekend, Paul, okay?
Good to hear from you, Linda. Appreciate the call.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Larry is in Shelby, Alabama.
There you go, brother. The city of Shelby. I told you I'm the mayor down here, didn't I?
What's up, His Honor?
There you go. Hey, them boys in that control room, Mark Cuban, that ain't his name. That's the owners of Maverick.
His name is Mark Kubiak.
Oh,
Kubiak.
Oh.
He's the one that if you're watching television is on your right.
I know. I'm going to tell you one thing. Them boys is Lily White, Jack. Man.
Lily White? What does that mean?
Lily White. Them boys, you step outside, you'd have to wear sunglasses to look at them.
Well, it's been a cold winter up here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot that. But look at you. You're tan.
I go to a tanning salon every afternoon.
That's what they need to hit, brother. But I'm going to tell you, Finebaum, Linda, that's kind of fans that just get up my skin. They just.
Why is that?
Well, they just don't have any confidence, man. We're going to roll. We're going to the national championship next year.
Really?
In January. January we'll be there, Jack.
Yeah. Heard that last year.
Do what?
Heard that last year. Heard it the year before.
Oh, come on, man. Do you remember you told me turn the page? I'm trying, Paul. I'm trying to cut back on drinking. You fixed to push me right off that damn wagon.
What have you had so far today, Larry?
2. I've been doing good, man. My doctor about my heart. He told me I had to.
Now, is it, I know I remember hearing somewhere that drinking wine is good for your heart, but what about, you don't drink wine, though, do you?
No, man, that's just winos. I don't mess with that stuff.
Wine is for winos.
Yeah.
Are you a Bud or Bud Light man?
Bud Light.
Bud Light, sure.
Yeah, wine is for them high-class people that think they're high-class and they ain't nothing but damn winos.
Yeah.
You know,
not that I'm thinking about closing time tonight, but what's a normal Friday afternoon, Friday night consumption for you? How many beers?
Oh, about 22, 24.
Are you kidding?
No, man, I go
22 beers?
Let me tell you, I go to a bar.
22 beers?
Yeah, 22, 25. I drink case when I go. I'll dance. Yeah, man,
I don't know if I've had 22 beers in my life.
Oh, come on, Finebaum. Yeah, 22. At 24, I drank 24.
I tell you what, Larry, I'm going to do one night. We're just going to, I'm going to bring a couple of six-packs in here. I'm just going to chug them down and see how long I can last. How long do you think I can make it?
I don't know, Paul. You might not do too good on that, brother. You have to go out and kind of, I like to see you in the control room after 12.
What about you guys in the control room? Have you ever had 22 beers, Mark Kubik?
In a week, you know?
What's the most you've ever had?
There's been a high number on weekends during the college days. The number's up there. 22 in one sitting, though?
No.
Only Larry can pull that one off.
That's Wade Dodge's.
Now, we'll tell you what. I can't say it. There's a pretty big-time figure in the SEC I have been with, and I've seen...
Oh, see, this...
I've seen a number that is close to that. I'll say that.
There you go. Because he's a party animal like me, man. When I was 55 years old,
Larry, figure this out. What's in a Bud Light? Is that 12 ounces?
Yeah.
Okay, so 22 times 12 is. I'm just thinking that the number of ounces of beer that you have running through your body.
System. Yeah. Yeah, that's quite a bit, but I love it, man.
Now, do you eat with that or what?
Do what?
I mean, do you have pretzels or peanuts or?
Yeah, man, I dance and swabber with women, but I don't do no dead bun pretzels.
22 beers.
And dance like a fool.
I mean, when you go to do you go to the grocery store or where do you buy your beer?
Well, I usually go out when I drink that many, go to a bar like Courtyard 280 and throw down, you know. I'm going to tell you, man, I was still duking it out when I was 55. I'm telling you. I'm hell on wheels, son.
So you just go to the bar and drink?
Yeah, and party with the girls, women.
Okay, Larry, I know we're getting late here in the interview, but we walk in the bar together, you and me. The guy already knows what you want, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
So he brings you, do you drink it draft or in the can?
I drink it in the bottle, brother.
The bottle? Okay.
Cold beer. Yeah, cold beer.
Okay.
So roll tide, Larry. Here you go.
Okay, Larry, you and I sit down at 5:30 in Birmingham. He serves you the beer at 5:31. When do you get your second beer?
Oh, God, 5:34.
5:32?
Yeah. Oh, I'm not mad. They love me, man. I put the bottom out in bottles. I love it,
I'll tell you what, Larry, that's a pretty entertaining call. Thanks. I have to rank that as among the best Larry calls of all time. I'll drink to that.
Thank you for listening to the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast. Tune into the Paul Finebaum Show every day from 3 to 7 Eastern on the SEC Network or on the ESPN Radio app. Baseball's best go head-to-head in interleague action when the Tigers head to St. Louis to face the Cardinals. That one is gone. The pregame at 7 Eastern, first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Radio.